What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40K. So a few days ago, I asked you guys a community question as to what is the dumbest thing that you can't wrap your head around in the lore of Warhammer 40K. Because when you have a vast, expansive, really sandboxy universe to explore, you have a little bit of plot holes and inconsistencies that sometimes get forgotten or unexplained. So for example, I've always wondered, why is it that Chaos Space Marines are constantly losing against non-Chaos buffed Marines? So for example, you have the Ultramarines who are just wiping the floor with like World Eaters, when World Eaters are blessed by Khorne, a Chaos God. Sometimes they got demons inside of them, empowering them to be even more bloodthirsty. They got the Butcher's Nails, and they're just also bringing in tons of chaotic empowered weapons and demons into the battlefield. And yet, time and time again, it seems that no real damage is being done to the Imperium. Now, the way this is kind of explained in the lore, it's because the Imperium is a huge propaganda machine. So they're not going to go ahead and explain and give out all these widespread losses to the greater Imperium because they want to keep humanity protected. They want to keep them under control. And if you go ahead and tell them, hey, chaos is overcoming us, we're losing on every front, then that's going to create a panic and chaos, etc. So you don't really get to hear all these losses. But at the same time, these Space Marines they're more regimented, more structured. They have a hierarchy. They listen to tactics and their commanders. Whereas with Chaos, it's just that. It's chaos. People fighting over people just to get into combat. You've got Karn the Betrayer killing his own Chaos demons, and Khorne in general just don't really care where the blood's flowing as long as the blood is flowing. So I guess you can say these unorganized chaos combatants are all in disarray. However, you go to look at Nurgle or Tzeentch or Slaanesh, and there you get a little bit of more structure, and yet they're still always losing. I mean, look at Tzeentch, for example. They're all about psychic powers, magic, warp fuckery, etc. These guys should be winning almost every battle. However, there's always some piece of lore or some named character that gets up in their grill, and that's what causes them to lose time and time again. It's crazy when they can literally just point their finger at you and make your blood boil from the inside, or snap their finger and have psychic lightning erupt on the battlefield. That's super overpowered, but at the same time, they end up losing time and time again to the Loyalists. But that's just something that I kind of come to terms. I don't really understand it as well, but you guys do kind of explain that Loyalist Astartes are usually better equipped, so that means that they're working as a more cohesive, organized, a more battle-ready chapter as opposed to the warbands of chaos. So, and let's not forget that the Emperor does protect, so he is kind of helping the Imperium in a grander scale. And speaking of the Emperor protecting, another thing that I could never wrap my head around is, why is it that the Emperor only grants his miracles to the Sisters of Battle? Wouldn't it be great to create saints from the Astra Militarum, saints from the Assassinorum, saints for a Space Marine? These are all warriors that could be brought to the next level. Like, think of a chapter master that can't die. Think of a chapter master that regenerates from his wounds in a blink of an eye. And this is what Saint Celestine can do, and unfortunately the Emperor is only granting his Sisters of Battle these type of boons and buffs. To me, it never made sense. Like, if the Emperor can do all this, he should be doing more. But at the same time, it's like, well, that's kind of what makes the Sisters their own thing, because if everybody got it, then it kind of takes away of the originality for them. But still, yeah, I never kind of understood why the Emperor is just doing that specifically for them. Miracles should be granted to everybody, but maybe the Emperor is already using too much energy to try and stay alive on the throne, too much energy to try and, protect Terra and the Astronomicon and all that, so all he can do is just do these minute things for the Sisters. So let's go ahead and look at the actual post and see what are some things you guys can't wrap your head around. And it's funny, Lamhao says one thing that he can't wrap his head around is how physical codexes are being $60 and they're being made invalid within a year. That's just exhausted and stupid. Yeah, I agree, especially seeing now how we're kind of locked out of using a lot of armies, because if you've been using the Warhammer 40K app, their Battleforge app, if you're trying to play Space Marines, if you're trying to play Tyranids, you can't. You have to buy the physical codex, then input the code into the app, and then you can use it. So yeah, we have to go to other sources to play the armies that we've built, played, painted, and done up over the years, which yeah, that kind of does suck. Which GW is only doing this for 40k, because I believe the battle tomes for Age of Sigmar are still free, so make it make sense. NAC 503 says, I understand why the Imperium hasn't bothered their technology in 10,000 years until recently, but why hasn't Chaos or Chaos Renegade factions done that? Like the Cult Mechanicus, who split away from the Empire, doesn't necessarily play by the same rules as the Imperium. On top of that, you got Vastor running around, the likes of the Iron Warriors, the Dark Mechanicum, etc. Shouldn't they be more advanced at this point in time? Yeah, that kind of does make sense, because I mean, Chaos, Dark Mechanicus, they're not really bound by the rules of the Imperium. There is no machine god that is telling them not to do it. Like, Vastor is literally saying, no, do it. Like, so it doesn't really make sense. I guess some excuses could be that physical laws don't really apply to the warp consistently, so science is kind of finicky there. Sometimes these Dark Mechanicus are just too crazy and they start to do experiments that don't really end up making much sense or working. Other times is that time does flow differently in the warp, so maybe they are bettering technology, but it won't happen until they emerge from the warp, which could be in the future or could be in the past. And it's just all weird and interesting how the ruinous powers kind of manipulate and kind of force things to work and don't work, and like chaos is a wheel, so it's like, I don't know, chaos is, the more you try to make it make sense, it doesn't, because it's supposed to be like these unimaginable, unfathomable things that are just like outside of reality and human comprehension, kind of like Cthulhu and like the Elder Gods and stuff like that. So I guess that could be a reason why Chaos isn't properly advancing technology at a faster rate than the Imperium. But at the same time, it's like, no matter what, Chaos and any other like Xeno faction is quote-unquote the bad guy, so of course they have to be behind the quote-unquote good guys of the Imperium. So it all depends on the writers and who's making these advances and stuff like that. There is a novel coming out soon, or maybe it's just out already, where it's like the Battle of the Gene Fathers or something like that, and it pits Belisarius Cawl against Fabius Bile, and they're kind of having like a meeting of the minds, so to speak. So it'd be interesting to see what we get out of that novel. Obviously both super smart intellectuals in their universes, and it'd be interesting to see how they talk and what they're actually talking about, because I think they're like meeting up for some reason. It's interesting, but can't wait to see what that unfolds. But yeah, let me know of other things you guys can't wrap your head around, and we'll keep the conversation going in the comments. Keep liking, commenting, sharing the video, subscribe for more Warhammer 40k, and as always, it's been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll see you in the next one.